Well, no technical problems no more, because bam, I got it going. Anyways, what I was saying before we were doing our clap to sync the show, I was.
So wait, did you clap before you started recording?
I don't need to. We don't need to clap for the video recording.
Okay.
It's just the audio
I think
recording.
Thomas is just trying to talk about his clap. So he's.
Yeah. Anyways,
That's
you
a
know,
personal problem.
you know how awesome it would be if you tried to form a Kamehameha, and then the little spark showed up in between your hands.
Do you
That'd
mean
be
a
like
Kamehameha?
Kamehameha. It's the Kamehameha wave. A
Kamehameha.
Kamehameha is the same thing, but when it's actually not being used, they call it the Kamehameha.
Dude,
Kamehameha.
am I just old? Because I don't know what the F you're
I have
talking
no
about,
idea
bro.
what-
Why don't you shut up, Robert, before I give you a special beam cannon? You understand
With
me?
his Dragon Ball Z nerdisms.
That's a
I
Dragon Ball.
really don't
Dragon
even know
Ball
what
Z.
you're talking about.
God, no one. I just
Way to
remember.
replace one obscure reference with another one.
Well,
I
I just remember as a kid, like
10 out of 10.
they only translate like the first 62 episodes of Dragon Ball Z, and they used to play them on Cartoon Network. And you get to like episode 61, you're like, we're finally gonna see what happens. And then episode 62 shows up, and you're like, oh my gosh, is this the time? And then you would see 62, and then it would flip back to episode 1, and then you'd wait another, 9 months for it to get to 62, and then you'd be like, is it gonna happen? And then it'd go back to episode 1, and then one day it changed, and we got to see the rest of the Frieza saga. It's probably one of the greatest times in anyone's life. Probably, it's like a national holiday. Welcome to the PARAcast. I'm your boss, Tomas the Boss, your host, Tomas the Boss Hernandez.
And boss.
Joining me tonight. He can't wait to install those Glock performance triggers so he can never use them in carry optics. It's Steve Koski.
Not legal. Not legal.
He hates government and the cold, but he helped government's agents in the cold yesterday. It's Robert Wyatt.
The world is just full of ironies, isn't it?
I think that could be applied to 3 of us, Tom.
His deposition was so profane, people thought it was in Morse code. It's Kenny Terry.
That sounds about right.
Beep, 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 beep.
There's a ship somewhere in the Atlantic sinking, and some
Even in Morse code, he's still saying "fuck you."
some people have jailbait splits. He has Jean-Benet Ramsey splits. I'm going to hell with Jared Stepp.
Oh.
Listen, if I ever make Jean-Benet Ramsey quotes, just jokes, like, I'm on her side, her dad did it. That's it. That's all I would like to say.
Me too.
I too agree with the thing.
I literally have it in the things. I'm going to hell with Jared Stepp. There you go.
Hooray.
So anyways, let's talk about, Jared and I, well, Jared, you go ahead. You talk about it, and then I'll hop in when I need to hop in.
About the class yesterday?
The class yesterday, what we did.
Or the After Dark class.
Ugh.
That's the one I want to be part of.
I made a
Kenny, run away.
I made a bad decision and caved because I've had a number of people asking me to do classes or teach how to shoot faster classes for the local dudes, and I finally did, and it was yesterday, and it went pretty well. It all was sold out, and the best part is it was sold out, but a couple people no-showed, which means I don't have to pay their range fees, but I get to keep their money. So it was a great day, all in all.
That's the best outcome you could ask for.
But it was a lot of fun. Tom was there to help. Robert was there the entire time. He was never left at any point, and he showed up from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. He was there keeping us safe from the other people in the other bays who were pointing guns at random things and people. But we were the ones who needed watching, me and Tom.
Yeah.
So it was fun, though. It was fun. I taught this class a handful of times, probably like about 10 times now, to other groups and coworkers, et cetera, kind of just guinea pigging the class slowly forward. And this is where I kind of ended up with. And it was fun. It's basically It's really straightforward. It's just how to grip the gun right, because most people don't know how to do that, especially most cops. And then you just practice doing that moving. Then you practice that stationary. Then eventually we practice it moving, and then we work on your times. And it's a good little class. It's a little 4-hour jaunt, and in the mud, as it were, yesterday. Mud and snow and frozen ground and wind and terrible, terrible things. But it was a great time, and thank you, Robert, and thank you, Tom, for coming out and helping.
Yeah.
You're welcome. It was very interesting to sit there and see the variety or the different skill sets that you get in some classes, which is kind of interesting because the first class was very. The first class had a lot of like higher skilled shooters that guy just kind of needed a little tuning up and basically had gotten it. But the one thing that I do not miss about teaching classes was the one thing that you would like people to remember while doing the drill is the one thing that they don't do while doing the drill, especially when the timer is involved.
It's so frustrating when guys are just doing one thing wrong, and you're like, hey, if you would like to, you're doing this wrong and it's messing you up. You could try doing this, and this would probably be better. And they're like, I like it. I'm not going to do it.
Well, the funny thing is like when I used to teach like the individual classes, you could get people to stop kind of mostly doing the things that were hindering their performance. But what's funny is like it's like voting, right? Like if you had like curtains that you could run in between the shooters and like isolation headphones, they would not feel the need to they would actually try to work on the thing that they were having a deficit in. But when the timer goes off and they see like other people in the class rip the gun out and start ripping the splits, they're like this 4-hour like lecture and instructional period is about having a good grip. But when you got guys who aren't taking the time to build that grip on the presentation, and it's just like I'm going to get that gun out and start splitting. So Jim Bob next to me doesn't finish the drill before I do. It was just kind of interesting. It was just fun. It was fun. And the nice thing about having the all cops in the class is like you could literally talk crap to them and like hound them at stuff about like maybe you guys should just go ahead and grip the gun on this one just for fun, just for the hell of it.
How about we try not being stupid and sucking this round?
Yeah,
so great time.
Yep, it was a blast. Robert showed up in the afternoon. The funny thing is like I was just thinking about.
I was there.
All
That's right.
day,
Sorry,
Tom.
all day, all day.
Because I had to go get a drink.
Yes.
Shut your whore mouth, Tommy.
What are you talking about, Tommy? I mean,
sorry.
I was there making sure that you guys were safe, even though
Damn
those
it.
guys 2 bays over were literally pointing loaded guns at each other. We were
Now,
being
what's going?
safe.
Okay, what's going on?
Because that's a
Tell
rule.
the story.
Thomas.
Well, I'm not too familiar what was going on in the other bay because I was so enthralled with helping out the policeman. But there was somebody else. One of the local shooters was having some sort of class in the next 2 bays, and there was some.
I think what had happened is they had all gotten together and like watched the Three Stooges, and then try and reenact it on one of the bays
With guns.
with guns.
I mean, that's
It's
pretty
just-
exciting to be honest.
I mean,
I don't. None of us really know who that guy was, but apparently it was one of
I
the slips.
do.
I don't, so I can talk shit. It was
I know,
one
and
of
I'll
the
still talk
slips,
shit.
ROs. I don't know him. I've never really met him, and it was just funny because he had a group of about 6 or 7 people, and it looked like they were having fun and having a good time. But when me and Robert were walking over to talk to Blake Chorus about trying to fix my staccato that got dremeled, we see in the bay somebody shooting, and then they turn around and they just point the gun down range, and they're like, rack, here, I'm clearing it, and they're pointing it absolutely up range. There are people over there. And then we went and talked to Blake about it, and Blake was like, dude, I saw that guy point a gun at one of the other dudes, and like, here, try out my gun, Tom. So it was just, we're like, okay. we have to be supervised. Me and Tom have to be supervised, but those guys over there are running amok.
Yeah.
Was this at
Whatever.
Calypso?
Yes.
Yeah.
God, I want to know who it was.
And you guys had to be supervised, Tom and Jared. You had to have somebody
Yeah.
watch you.
We had Robert
Yeah.
as our supervisor.
Oh, okay.
The whole-
Because you
the
have
whole
to have
time.
an RO there.
And dutifully,
Wait.
I was there the whole time.
How does that work? But Robert's favorite phrase is, "You can't tell me what to do. You're not my supervisor." But
But
Robert
that-
was your supervisor.
Correct. Robert's perfectly fine if he is the supervisor. That's the whole
Okay.
point. If he is the supervisor, it's mostly fantastic. Just a couple things I was just thinking about. One is splitting the trigger, which was kind of funny. Like this trigger bar was kind of weird in this Glock, and I tried to do a demo one time, and I literally did the slowest splits I've done in the past 12 years out of
It
this
was
guy.
pretty great.
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing when I'm pulling like 45 splits because the damn trigger won't break on the backside of this connector. So that's fantastic.
To be fair though, like all the hinges in poor Tommy's finger were like frozen.
It was cold.
It was a
Yeah.
bit nippy.
It was well. The nice thing is that it started to warm up just enough to make unfreeze the ground and make it a complete pile of mud, and
was
that.
funny.
And then once that happened, the wind came by to chill everyone to the bone. So it was pretty good. So like honestly, I think you like there's guys who saw 50% reductions in their bill drill times and whatnot, so they got out of it. But it definitely, like anything, like any shooting thing in warmer weather, you would have gotten another 25% of performance just if it was 20 degrees warmer. But the one of the kind of cool things that I was just figuring out, just messing around trying to split guns and split triggers and get a little bit faster myself, is that I realized that I probably spent about shot 1,000 rounds this month, which is probably about as many rounds as I've shot in a January before, with literally very little appreciation. Well, sorry, it's probably the worst month to go out there because every time I've gone out there to shoot something besides like grouping stuff at an indoor range or working on a draw at an indoor range, it has been so damn cold that my performance isn't anywhere near what it should be in normal weather. So I just feel this. It's okay.
But that keeps you safe on the streets, Tommy.
It does. It does.
Nobody
keep us-
waits for warm weather to assault someone.
You know what? They actually do.
I was gonna say, I mean, the 2020 summer of love kind
Oh.
of toned itself down
Crime.
when the fall of cold rolled in.
Crime during the summer is always wild here. The working Friday nights and Saturday nights in one of the main cities out in Salt Lake County is absolutely nuts. But during the winter, it's cold and everyone's like, nah, fuck that.
Yeah, I've done. I've done.
I mean, that little lady
time,
can keep
no
her
time for
purse.
robbing.
I've done ride-alongs on rainy nights and there's nothing going on, and I'm just like, why isn't there anything going on? It's like it's raining.
You got
like,
Eddie
oh,
Rabbit
well,
in the
it's like-
background. Well, I love a rainy night.
Well, it's literally it becomes a baseball game. It's just like, listen, we can't run around, we can't steal anything, we can't get.
So you're
what if
telling
we
me
slip?
when Tom moves from 9mm to 45 in the cold weather, so he can get through all the jackets, he doesn't even need to carry it all.
Well, and there's less. You can run less capacity because there's less criminals to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And
He can go
it's
from 15 to 7 rounds and be just fine.
be just fine. I mean, it's just gonna be one or.
I guess
One
single
or two
stack winter
guys.
actually has a point now.
Yeah, I mean, the other part is too. It's like the division that requires the most dexterity is the worst one to do in the winter. So yeah. Anyways, that's me. Robert, do you have anything else, or Jared, do you have anything else?
No,
Okay.
no.
Before we
I
get
thought I thought it was a lot of fun watching Jared and you teach that class. It was
I just-
actually really really enjoyable.
I just thought it was funny because Robert, when he showed up at 8 a.m., was just so grumpy and sad. And then he was like, I want to leave. I
I'm
want to
cold.
go.
I want to
And he's like,
go.
I
It's
am
cold.
gonna go.
Cold.
And
it's
then-
cold. It's cold.
And then he turned around and was like, this is actually kind of fun watching you guys make fun of all these cops on your stay. So he just sat in the
Yeah.
background and just laughed. And then he'd come up and be like, hey, Jared, this guy sucks. And I'm like, yeah. And then he'd just
Yeah.
wander
He,
off.
he works for West Valley. Oh, say no more.
So this is a class you're going to teach again, I assume? You're going to teach it periodically?
Most likely.
And it's all day? About how many rounds do you fire?
It's actually what I did was I don't really like the all day classes because I feel like you kind of burn out towards the end. When you do an 8-hour class, I mean, I've seen classes before, especially like when it was cold. You have an 8-hour class and you break for lunch, half the fuckers don't come back because it's just like, I don't care that I paid money for this. It's too cold. So we actually did a 4-hour class,
Okay.
4 hours, about 200 rounds. And it was a very, very cheaply priced this first time. I'm going to bump up the price now that I kind of got the curriculum ironed out. But since this was a test run, more or less, yesterday was a test run. So $65 for a 4-hour class. That was fun. But then I'm probably going to bump the pricing up and we'll see what happens. But yeah.
It was definitely
Awesome.
fun to watch guys literally, like, some of the times, like on the first bill drills or whatever they shoot, they just go from like minute of man at like 8 yards or 7 yards. It's just like, and then like all of a sudden you just teach a couple things and then it shrinks down where they're shooting three. Funny is, like, we had a lot of like 3-second bill drills with like 185, 194, 2-second draws.
Yeah.
And so like these guys were like learning how to split the trigger pretty well, but it was fun to watch police officers who were actually pretty decent shooters, just rip the trigger like as fast as they could, like getting 20 splits. And then the other thing that was kind of interesting is watching them, the mental static that comes in with trying to shoot a bill drill instead of trying to do something like shooting like a Blake drill on the move. When like you're just geared up, I'm going to rip this draw, bring up this gun and try to split 6 shots as fast as I can. What ends up happening is you F up the draw and you don't split as well as you can because you're pushing it so hard and you're not able to be relaxed. But when you're actually relaxed and having to concentrate on different things like transitioning between 3 different targets while on the move, almost nobody has trigger freeze.
Yeah. The weird thing is obviously you guys know the goal for your bill drill, let's say 2 seconds, and then 2.5 seconds, right? And then you want your Blake drill to be about the same speed, relatively. Most of the guys, almost every single guy there, their stationary bill drill at 7 yards was slower than them doing a moving Blake drill at the same distance. Every single person was able to shoot 3 targets while moving faster than they could just do the stationary 7 yards. And I don't know if that was because of the cold, if it was because, like what Tom was saying, everybody was struggling a lot with their draws, just because, again, it was freezing. But it was a fun time.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to go out there and sit there and see what was happening with all the police officers. Before we get to Kenneth, it is that time that we've all been waiting for, the Glock performance trigger update. Steven.
I got my 2 Glock performance triggers in the mail after several delays, and I dropped one into my Glock 34.
I thought you say you dropped one. I'm like, it went off already.
Thanks.
It's not a SIG.
SIG
So
perfection.
I put it in the Glock 34. The travel before the trigger kind of hits the wall feels just like a standard Glock trigger, and then it just kind of slides off. There's a little more travel, and then the trigger just goes off. The nearest I can tell with my little Lyman trigger pull thing, futzing around with it for a couple
come on,
minutes.
Steve. Grand thumb it for us. Just ghost that trigger on there for us.
Ooh, tip to butt.
Tip to butt, baby.
Just pretend you're pulling it with us. You go, this is the pre-travel, and then that's the break. It does look like it has a little bit less travel.
Let's see.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's about 3 3/4 pounds, as near as I can guess, the Lyman gauge.
Okay.
Which is about a pound less than my stock Glock 17 trigger. It's about 4 3/4 pounds.
Is it a
Is
stock
that with
Glock
the-
or a
yes.
stock with a minus?
Stock
This is
connector and everything.
when I bought the 217s. This is all stock, but this is one that has the better trigger of the two. It feels the same, other than this one builds up another pound after you hit the wall, and this one just kind of slides off. The Glock performance trigger just kind of slides off.
Have you shot them yet?
No, I haven't.
Guess who has shot a Glock performance trigger?
Tom, how
Any
was
guess?
it? Tell us.
Well, one, I didn't know it was the Glock performance trigger until after I had shot it, but I thought it was a pretty good trigger. One of the guys had one of the Holosun SCSs that directly mounts to the MOS plate, so there's no plate system in between. He's like, I think my dot's off, and I was like, all right, well, let me try it. And so I like aimed for the bottom left corner of the A zone and fired a shot, and then like made some adjustments, and then fired another shot, and then fired another shot, and then fired, and I got 3 bullets in the same damn hole at like 9 yards. And so I was just like, this trigger breaks pretty well. Like the pre-travel is what I noticed too. But the actual, when you get to the break, so like on a standard Glock, you get to like the engagement, and then especially on a minus connector, it kind of goes a little bit because that angle of that trigger, that connector, has to like finally slide that trigger bar off. But on the performance trigger, it kind of stiffens up and then just makes a very consistent break.
Yes, it keeps moving and then it just falls off from nothing.
Yeah.
Falls off.
I thought it was a little mushy.
It is a little mushy.
Ew.
It's not as crisp as so the stock trigger. You go to the wall, then it stacks and it has a crisper break. It doesn't really stack and
Yeah,
it just breaks.
it more.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
Does the performance trigger have any adjustment on it at all?
No. The weirdest thing for me is after you pull the trigger on the performance trigger, the trigger resets. So normally, if you look at a gun and a Glock sitting on the counter and the trigger's to the rear, you know it's not loaded.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really?
But now the trigger's forward, whether you've just fired it or not. And so, which means like if you do dry fire drills, you get the trigger action, you just don't get the break, and it feels like the same pull. Like the weight is the same, it's just the break isn't there.
Because it'd be
So
you
it's
could
similar
drive-
to the Timneys then.
yeah, because they
Yeah.
have the trigger
Yeah,
return
it's very
spring setup.
it's 80% similar to the Timney design.
Yeah, it's very much so like a standard minus connector when you're pulling it. Like after you have that, you have so much movement before it actually slides off. This one seems to have a little bit of movement, but then it doesn't break in a window. It just breaks. Like on a minus connector, sometimes you can like it'll be like between here and here it'll break because it's got to slide off, and this one just kind of goes like that window. There's still some movement, but that window is shorter and it just breaks. Seems like at the same point for the five rounds I shot through it. It's very nice.
I didn't like the shoe. I thought the shoe was weird. The actual trigger.
Yeah,
I felt like it was
How's
wide.
it different? Like, is
It's-
it standard Glock 17 wide or wider, like a Ranger?
It's supposed to be like flatter.
Like a flat face trigger.
Okay,
it's
so like
flat.
so
it's
the
flat.
original-
It has a little hook at the bottom.
Huh.
I mean, it's not flat.
Right.
Wider.
It does have a little. It changes angle towards the bottom. It is wider and flatter than the standard triggers, which are rounded over a little more.
Yeah.
So you could say it might feel wider. It actually isn't wider. It's not as round on the front. But yeah, I could see how people might have a preference for or against that. But
Yeah, I tend to like the little bit of the flatter. It feels fine, but yeah, they're interesting. Are they $100 interesting, Stephen?
I think so. I think they're $100 interesting.
Yeah.
If you're playing games and you want to futz around, I'd say it's worth $100.
Yeah.
Kenny, how much does it take to do your trigger? I mean, is that mostly just you doing work on it?
Yeah, a minus connector, a spring, and a lot of handwork.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. So you do it again, Stephen?
As a matter of fact, I bought 2.
2 more?
No, just I got another one sitting in the basement. I haven't put it in
Oh.
anything yet.
Oh, I
I'm
see.
wondering if I'm going to keep this 17 IDPA legal or not, because you can't. I mean, it'd push me into ESP.
Why can't you change the trigger on?
Because in stock service pistol, you can't have any externally visible
Well,
mods.
Here's the deal. We had the shooter that had the holosun on it and the enhanced performance trigger. Guess what Glock he was shooting? The Glock 47, the new 17. So I am not sure if that came stock on the new Glock 47. I would not be surprised on some of those if that performance trigger is shipping with the gun.
Well, I was
Okay.
surprised because he said that was his duty gun, and I'm like, you have the performance trigger in your duty gun? And he's
Yeah,
like,
that seems unlikely.
Huh. All right.
Well, most of the policy stuff isn't. I don't think. I would highly doubt nowadays that police agencies actually look at the poundage of the trigger to actually gauge it, because almost every company that's putting out a trigger, like, who do you know who put out a 6-pound trigger in a polymer pistol in the past 7 years?
the poundage isn't the thing. Most places is there's no modifications. You cannot make
Correct.
modifications.
Is
Like, you
removing the
can't
firing pin modification?
Yes.
that would.
What about an extended firing pin,
What
Robert?
if-
That's no longer drop safe. The killing RO in the east.
Not in the west. There's a big river and a continental divide. It's totally a different country.
Mhm.
Shadow Twos?
They
have
have spy balloons over there.
Yeah.
Shadow Twos have killed more ROs than they have criminals. The
That's
spicy hot take.
mean.
I'm sorry.
And yet true.
Sorry.
Oh.
We'll stack that in the Champagne.
Okay, we got to figure out how to make the show name that.
Straight to hell.
Yeah, and so like mostly like as long as the agent, listen, all police agencies are trying to do is defer liability somewhere down the road. And so if Smith & Wesson gives you a 3.5 pound trigger, and they're like, oh yeah, it's like drop safe and it's our duty trigger, and they go like,
As long as you don't modify it, that's
as long
just
as you
fine.
don't modify it.
Well,
And the other part is too is like if they see qualification scores go up, they're just like, well, quals are up, must be gooder.
no,
Fine.
and there's actually a bunch of guys are mad at my department right now because the M&P 2.0 just came out with a nice flat face trigger, and that's actually the new stock trigger on a bunch of the M&P models, and it's nicer. It is. It has, instead of the hinged brake like the standard M&P, it has a dongle like the Glock, from what I understand.
Yep.
And so some people like that more, and the range isn't letting anyone swap to the new triggers because it's modifying it. Even though a new gun has it stock in there, no, you can't because you're changing it. Well, you wouldn't even know if I bought a new gun or a gun in 2019. It's the same exact thing. This is you would have no idea. And they're like, well, you can't do it.
Yep.
And so it's silly.
Well, it's silly, but so is government, and in this case, Sim Gill.
True.
KT.
So I swapped a new barrel on my PRS rifle.
Oh.
And
Did you
Oh.
burn it out or just swap it out?
Did you
I
get that?
wanted a heavier barrel.
Did
so...
you get that barrel vice?
Oh,
Yeah.
hang on a second. Whoa, sorry.
Wait.
Yeah.
You wanted a heavier gun there? Can you tell me
No,
more about
Robert's been
heavier?
ghosting me about a barrel vice. So
What was that?
I said Robert's been ghosting me about a barrel vice.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
That's
shit.
That's fine. I found a 9mm AR-15 upper in my range bag. I was like, what the hell is this for? I don't know what this is. Why do I have this? And I was just like, oh, I think someone gave it to me to give to Robert like 9 months ago. And I read it, and it was like, here you go, Robert.
And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The PARAcast is literally the slowest shipping you can possibly get from one to another.
I still have grips of Robert's from when I lived in my other house that somebody gave me a gift.
And it's been a while since Kenny's lived in his other house because I stopped by there to drop off a package, and I knocked on the neighbor behind. I was like, I'm looking for Kenny Terry. And they're like, who? And I'm like, the guy and his wife and his 10-year-old daughter. Like, we don't have any idea who you're talking about. I knocked on the other neighbor's door, and they still remembered you.
Yeah. It was a year and a half
funny.
ago I moved out.
It's a while ago.
Yeah, so I bought a new Criterion bull barrel for the PRS gun. I put it on Wednesday night, and I've been to the range every day since, just trying to break the barrel in.
What caliber?
6 Creedmoor still.
Okay,
Are
so
you doing the fancy break-in where you do like one bullet, then you swab it, then you oil it, then you do this? Is
Yeah,
that
Tell us about it.
Takes
Tell
a
us
very
about it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you shoot one, clean it, shoot one, clean it, shoot one, clean it. Do that 10 times. Then shoot 5, clean it, shoot 5, clean it, shoot 5,
Is
clean
that-
it. Do that 5 times. Then shoot 10, clean it.
is that
sounds
necessary?
like
I
bull
don't
crap
know.
to me.
well, okay.
Look,
'Cause I've always heard
I'll tell you
everybody
guys the
does
same thing
it.
I tell people
Everybody
in
does it.
PSA. Just do what the big dogs do, and until you prove them wrong, do what they do. And that's what the big dogs do, so that's what this guy did.
So from my
And I
end,
went
Yeah.
out to
How
to
much was the
and I sold
barrel?
600.
Damn.
I went up today to do my first.
600.
Wait, is my wife listening to this?
Dear Lord, please don't let my wife sell my guns for what I told her I paid them for 'em.
So I went out today to do my first low development, and I shot a .009 group, and that's the tightest I've ever shot. So
Whoa.
I'll be happy with it.
Zero,
what kind of distance?
09?
7
Yeah, it was
yards.
one hole
10
at
yards.
3 yards. No, I'm just- 100 yards.
My boy. How are your splits?
About 45 seconds.
Ah, yeah.
Bang, clean, 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 clean. Bang.
So these are all at 100 yards.
Those
Yeah.
AARP splits.
Yeah, so
Boy, the range ROs at Lee K were like, that boy, that's just music to my ears.
Oh, I guarantee you the ROs there were standing there with their cup of coffee, just nodding, being like,
I don't go to Lee K.
Okay,
That's
so-
scary.
So
I must
here,
have barely missed you guys yesterday because I went out yesterday at like 5:05.
no, yeah, we had just probably
We-
ducked out.
Yeah, we left at about 4:55, and I had locked everything up and fled.
So here's what I understand about the breaking process. So this is not a chrome line or nitrided or any. It's just what a cold hammer forger button cut stainless barrel, correct?
Correct.
So from what I understand,
Stainless. You got a stainless barrel? Don't those not last as long?
correct. So this is the idea of what happens.
But they're more accurate.
Because they're not hardened. They haven't been hardened by nitriding or chrome lining. That when you fire, you are basically lapping or sanding the barrel with the projectile. And so after that goes out, you need to run the rod through to clear the shavings at what came out of that barrel, and then you fire it again, and then you clean it, and then you're able to fire 5 more, and then clean
Steve
it.
just quit.
Yeah, Steve. You're gonna hear muzzle. You're gonna see muzzle flashes and then fall onto the ground.
Yeah,
I
Tom,
thought
I believe you're correct. The same thing that I was reading up on it is like the quality barrels. It's not necessarily the lands that you're lapping because they're all done by hand before you even get them, but it's the throat that they're saying you're breaking in.
Yeah, you're because the stainless barrel. So a stainless barrel will have, from my understanding, like a peak life. So it has something like after like 150 to 200 rounds, so like somewhere like 2,000 or 3,000 rounds, at least on a handgun, from what I remember. You're going to have peak accuracy, and then after that, you are starting to degrade the barrel. So that's why, like when they would make you fancy Beretta 92s, they don't put it in the chrome line barrel or the nitrided barrels. They put it in the stainless Beretta barrels, which are cold hammer forged stainless barrels that have no hardening on the inside. And so you get peak accuracy. And so there's
But
a
this
lot of
crap doesn't apply to pistol barrels, does it?
it can apply to pistol barrels, but not as much to pistol barrels, is from my understanding. I know that the guys who shoot like CMP, who like have like their 1911s and their Berettas and their M17s, they think the freaking SIG M17. It's a delicate freaking service pistol. But they would kind of do the same processing when they were shooting their targets at 50 yards, one-handed with their hand behind their back, or whatever the hell they do in that sport. So
If firearms and reloading has taught me anything, and I mean you could say this about gun oil as well, there's a lot of urban legends, and I'm doing this because Grandpappy, who is a really good hunter, told me to do it, and he once shot a squirrel from 20 yards, and that was so amazing. Yeah, we're filled with that stuff.
Robert dropped his fake accent up there for his real one. But if you have something like a nitrided barrel or something like that, like you are not going to shoot. Like if you had an AR-15's got a chrome line barrel, you are not going to shoot, clean, or whatever. You are doing nothing to that nitriding or chrome lining process. Any mistakes that were there when the chrome lining went into place or the nitriding are locked in hard mistakes and will take a long time to get rid of. And that's the benefit of the stainless steel barrel. It will clear itself out.
A question. Kenny, have you shot it past 100 yards yet?
No, I literally finished building it Wednesday, and I got the load figured out today, and I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to be sick tomorrow or not. To take it out the distance.
Because I'm just curious, because if you shot a 009 group, holy shit, I want to see what that'll do at, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1,000 yards. That's nuts.
I mean, I'm sure it'll be a banger. My old barrel would shoot 1/4 inch, and at 1,000 it would stack them.
This is amazing.
The only reason I did it is it weighs 2 more pounds than my old barrel, and I needed some more front weight.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I
Can
mean,
you not just like put a Twinkie
what?
in there or something?
So-
what? What? Do you have a hard time like being a man and like holding the gun? I mean,
Yes.
what the hell? I mean, next thing
Yep.
you're gonna be putting an optic on it because aiming's for pussies.
It's a
No, actually, I'm just aiming off the Picatinny rail. No scope yet.
just go.
Yeah.
He's got
I thought you had a laser on it.
So in PRS, there's like the balance point on the gun of where it sits on the bag. And before I was at 3.5 inches, and like Morgan King and these guys say, you want to be half whatever your bag width is, which would be 5 inches for me. And I was running out of any more weight I could put in the front of the gun other than a fatter barrel.
so you
5
so-
inches is better than 3.
So this barrel
That's what
looks
she
like
said.
this barrel looks like a 1/2-inch PVC pipe. Is that what this thing? Is it just like this big old fat knocker?
Yeah, so
that's
it's
hanging out there.
Yeah, it's 1.1 inches at the end and 1.5 inches at the muzzle.
You could.
So yeah, it's a big, thick.
You ever rest it against your face just to see how it feels?
You did see me yesterday at the range.
Someone walks in. It's not what it looks like.
I don't know, Kenny. It really does look like it.
And then he pops up and goes, "It's worse."
Kurt Cobain, no.
If you have a heavy barrel in the pants and you need those pants to be held out, check out Dominate Defense, the finest belts in the industry, and as two of Utah's finest told me, the best patrol belt they have ever used. Dominate Defense. So check out for your concealment needs or your Mach 1 speed belt, or if you are an officer and need a duty belt, check those out. Use promo code PARA10, save 10% off, and also check out Precision Holsters. Fantastic fast holsters. Holsters? I don't know what's going on. Robert's fell into his real accident. I guess I fell into mine, which is a 14-year-old pubescent boy. So check out that. Use promo code PARA10, and then check out Rune Tactical. Same promo code. Get an extra bullet or two, possibly, in your magazines. And
Oh, did you see who is it? MBX? I mean, like hot on the heels of Rune Tacticals. Like, hey, we too now have a follower that you can put 24 rounds into your gun with, and we're not copying Rune at all.
What
And
a
to prove
shock.
that,
Didn't MBX try
we're
this?
gonna we're gonna charge you $2 more for it to show you that we're not copying them.
Didn't MBX try that like 4 or 5 years ago and their followers kept breaking?
Probably. That sounds like something they would do. No, it's just funny because it's not like he owns the world and can say do whatever you want, but like MBX comes out with this thing, and I get it, competition, but they charge $2 more. Why? Because it says MBX on it? I don't get that.
Exactly.
Marketing.
Yeah,
Because marketing.
yeah, crazy. It's the dumbest. It's the dumbest thing in the world why they would do that. But I mean, that's the thing though. I mean, like Rune, like they basically have that same Dylan warranty. It's kind of the no BS thing, And so it's like if something goes wrong, send it back. We'll take care of you.
yeah, they
And
also
MBX is like, if you break it, suck it, because we don't care.
yeah, because we don't want to deal with that. It's not.
That's why we sell extras.
But anyway.
Check them all out. Also, Telegram. Find balloon memes and ask us questions, Robert.
Let's see, from Alex Mansfield. Why didn't any one of you get smart and go to Puerto Rico with Mr. President? I should have. It probably would have been warmer.
It would have been nicer. Like Puerto Rico seems to be pretty nice.
Didn't
That
it get rained on most of the time?
Well, it's
I thought that was
it's
last year.
tropical. It's
I
tropical.
thought that was this year.
No, I
we
didn't
get
see.
Look out the window, Kenny. We get snowed on every other day this winter.
I mean, I'm not leaving snow just to get rained on.
There has
he's-
been a
you got a
crap
point
ton
there.
of snow this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I'd rather take the snow than rain. I got to be honest with you. I
Um,
mean, snow sort of flakes off. It's sort of okay, but rain just sucks. If it snows, you don't always have to bag the targets. Rain, be prepared.
That's true.
I will still take rain because you know what? It can be hot and raining. It can be mildly warm and raining. It can be 50-something degrees and raining. You know what it's not when it's 18 degrees? Raining. It's snowing when it's 18 degrees and it's cold. And I've had I could say I've had it up to here with snow this year, but I've technically had it up to higher than I can reach with my arms. Because
Yeah, I've seen some of
effing
your
snow.
delivery routes there, dude. You've definitely had it higher than you.
I could jump off of any roof and be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I feel like you should record this week.
Science.
Science! It's just
For
science.
science. Let's see. I gotta find more. From Jeff Smith, has the results from the in-person board meeting been released yet? I've been checking, and I have not found anything. The answer would be no. No, they have not been released because the president is shooting the Caribbean Open, and he is trying to cook the books and hide all of that sweet federal ammunition money that everybody says that he somehow has.
He's
Gosh.
Eamon promised the notes here soon. He's finishing writing them up.
He's like, regarding limited optics, we took a vote. Fuck off. Yours
Now-
Christ. Eamon.
We're gonna do it for the lulls.
Now we took the vote. It was 50,000 to who cares, which it was 50,000 to the check clears. So we're moving
Just
on.
for fun, it would be like, we looked at limited optics. We told you about it because we know you people are stupid enough to have gone out and bought brand new guns in
Oh my God,
anticipation of
everyone's
division.
everyone's
And
doing it.
surprise, jerks, we ain't doing it.
Oh,
I'd laugh.
I-
I'd laugh a lot.
It would be
Do you
funny.
guys remember when Jared was cool and shot a real man's division?
no.
He's never.
Yeah,
been
that's
cool. No,
when
he's
he
never
first started
cool.
shooting, and then
It's been a while.
Hey, I am proud of myself where I clawed up in limited shooting a minor. I got to A class shooting minor. I'm proud of that.
You could have won national shooting minor.
Look
and
at
then
me.
you ran away and went and shot at easier division.
I shot open for a while.
Kenny,
Precisely my point. Easier
Kenny,
division.
you just put a 2-pound heavier barrel on a precision rifle.
This
that you
is
don't
not
even shoot it.
USPSA.
What the
damn it,
hell?
Thomas. That's PRS.
It's true.
Oh yeah. Suddenly now we're
been-
drawing
he's been-
distinctions.
He's
I mean, you couldn't get it done with like the barrel that you had. So what'd you do? You go and change it out because it had to make your gun easier to shoot.
I was writing my Stevens triggers are never gonna make it to carry optics, and then I was just like, why don't I ever give Kenny shit for not coming over to carry optics? Why don't you shoot a populated division instead of trying to
We
get
don't.
a
Where
win?
do
Every...
you where do you want me to shoot it, Tom? I have yet to lose carry optics at a local.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yes, continue
That's
to
why
do
we
it.
don't
Where do
want
you want
him
me
in
to shoot
carry
it?
optics.
No, have him come over. Have him shoot it for the rest of his
Let's
life. It'll
see.
be
I've
fun.
won every major or every local I've shot in production.
I-
Every local I've shot in single stack.
Okay,
That's not true.
Which division do you want me to shoot?
I want
Actually,
to listen.
that's not true. I distinctly remember you shooting single stack at an indoor match, and I beat
If I
you.
got DQ'd, it
Admittedly, I
doesn't count.
DQ'd you.
I beat you one time when I was shooting open and you were shooting single stack. So suck it.
Oh Jesus, that's a fair equation there.
Listen, I want
Hey, I'll take my win.
I want Kenny and carry optics. I refuse to believe anything you've just said, Kenneth, and it's on the
That's-
record. You've
That's
never.
fine.
God, he's-
So this slips. I'm shooting a borrowed gun. After that, I'll pull a CO gun out, Tom.
Yeah, and you won't win anything. So that way, show up and shoot and carry optics. That's just
Okay.
what I want. Just
Okay.
show up. Just show up and carry
Okay.
optics.
That's fine.
First
Oh,
shot.
fighting.
First
Should I
shot.
shoot a borrowed carry optics gun too, Tom? Can we put like lunch on this?
I'll tell you what. You spot me 20%, and you get yourself a deal. I just need 20%. That's all I need.
Deal.
I guess I can get within 85 like last
He already
time.
said deal.
I'm
that's
fine. I'm fine.
I just want to know what
happy.
matches is because now I'll actually practice.
I
Tom.
actually am
Prove
not.
me
I'm actually not showing up for the next 2 bits. I'm tired of shooting in the cold. But as long as you show carry optics, I'll be
Can't-
happy.
Hey, that means that Kenny automatically wins, so you owe him lunch.
Boom.
No,
Bam.
stop doing this. First and last shot must be with your rifle. All right, moving on.
Let's see. Last question from Josh Zalwig. Which division is the most fun to each of you? I've shot several now, and they each offer
God.
a different experience, offer very different experiences and challenges.
Steve.
I would say production was the most fun about 4 years ago when Leo and Tom and Robert and a whole host of people were shooting it. That was quite fun. Even
Production.
Kenny shot it on occasion.
Production for as far as my shooting career. I mean, that's because it was most of it. Production was fun. I would say there is something to moving through a stage very rapidly with having a dot and a bucket full of bullets in the gun. Like that can be cool, just moving through. But there was nothing more fun than hooking up a stage and shooting it quickly, shooting production. It's just harder. It's more technical. Like sticking like the 2 reloads you needed to stick into, and like
And you have a round or two
I think-
extra.
you're
And you
on the
can't use-
edge. Yeah.
Yeah, you're on the edge. Sometimes you show up and you're like, I'm going to shoot 11 for 11 here. And I'm going to do
I
it.
think what Tom liked doing was shooting a handicap division, but still beating people in open and limited. And then he would get the feel goods from it and be like, I'm shooting at short bus division, but I'm still better than you. Suck it.
I mean,
And
it's a great
that's
feeling,
why
Tom.
Tom shot production.
No, the best thing ever, the best feeling I would ever have, and I don't know if Candy can agree with this, is that when you shoot stack and you start beating guys who literally have 3 times the ammunition, and some of them even have major hit factor scoring, major power factor, it's just like this glorious thing. It's like, I loaded.
Yeah,
4
I'm not gonna lie.
times on
When
that.
I mean,
It's the
when I
most
shot
beautiful
satisfying.
thing.
and I
It
would
is
beat-
so
when I
good.
beat people shooting revolver, I did look down on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's
When I won the
As you
overall in
should.
production-
Yeah.
Yeah, when I won the overall in production, I was like, oh, this feels great. There's open guys with
Yeah.
major that I beat with a Beretta.
yeah. I mean, there is nothing like shooting to slide lock on that last position on that last target, throwing a magazine in and having it presented, and then shooting into the next position. Because like when you're doing carry optics or limited or whatever like that, like there's one reload. Like how hard, and like half the time on like limited you got like a magazine well, but there's like one reload. And so if you bobble that reload, you feel like an idiot. But when like you land 3 reloads and just knock it out of the park, or literally shoot to 11 and then shoot to I'm gonna shoot to 11, I'm gonna shoot to 10, and I'm gonna shoot to 10, and it's just like
Well,
it's amazing.
and worst comes to worst, and you don't win, or you have someone beat you, you can say, "Well, you're shooting a different division."
I mean, it works in every direction.
It's
See, that's like beating up a girl, though.
If
I
you
mean,
beat
even
them,
if
you
you beat
win.
them up, I mean, you just beat
Listen,
a girl, and if you
listen,
lost,
the
then
rules
you
say
got
she's
beat
in,
up by a girl.
she's in my weight division. She's in my weight division. Rules are rules. You
Well,
understand?
in this day with trannies, you never know. I mean, it's like she may be a he, and he just kicked your ass. She may just kicked your ass. I get it confused.
Well, it's the only thing that bugs me about that is when I find out their penis is still larger than mine. Anyway,
I think open.
Kenny-
I think open's the funnest because you just get to go fast.
ride the wave, right?
See, that's funny. To me, open is the only division I haven't enjoyed shooting. Other than that, I love all of them. I think they all have their own difficulties. Open to me is just easy, basic.
I like
Yeah.
PCC. I think that's the funnest division, but
I
it's
didn't
because
know you
every
were
time
So
I-
can we
out
vote
during
kick him
this
off now
episode.
or later?
well, unlike most people, I've only shot PCCs with guns that are decidedly not made for PCC as a division. I've shot my 45s, I shot my MP5s, and I go into it knowing that this is not something I'm going to be overly competitive at. But every time I come home and I'm like, yeah, that was fun. I had a great day. It always takes me back to when I very first started and I met Steve, and I'm like, this was fun. It reminds me of the enjoyment that I had when I very first started. And I like that. I love all the divisions. Production, I agree with you, Steve. When everybody was shooting production, that was fun because we'd all show up, we'd have a great day together because we're all shooting, and then we come home and we talk about it. That was great times. Carry optics, there's people in it, and there's something to be said about just riding that dot through
Right.
the stage.
Well, the one thing is too is like in production when everyone was there, like there was a little bit of anxiety before the match or after the match, or like right after like that last stage, like who's winning,
Yeah.
who's doing this, like what am I, how much shit talking should I do here on the last stage? And like and the one thing is like when people kind of left that, like you could kind of get it back when you're shooting carry optics. The one thing is like competition's one thing, but like I would enjoy carry optics a whole lot more if it was a 15 round or 10 round division. I think it would just be an absolute blast, just because it becomes much more technical.
You could put 10 rounds in there.
No,
True.
because once again, I like who am I beating at the end of the thing. So like,
But you'd feel that much more accomplishment saying, I only put 10 rounds in my gun. What did you put in yours? 25, and you still couldn't win? It must suck to be you.
well, that's
I have a question on that, Tom.
Yeah.
What do you mean it would make it more technical?
Just the
Well, it just puts more pressure to make the shots. Whether you just don't have 2 or 3 shot bullets to make up any shot. You have to make every shot count.
well,
I don't know. Most USPSA 15 rounds for like 10 rounds. I would agree. It makes it a lot more technical. But 15 rounds, there's still so many places to reload. Their guns are easy to reload.
Functionally, 12 rounds is the most you need for any position. If you go past 12,
So am I wrong? So 15 rounds is not enough to complete like 2 full arrays, like 8 and 8. You can't do that with 15 rounds. So like 2 shooting positions, if they're
Correct, but I mean, how often do we actually see full 8-round arrays?
Who follows that rule?
I mean, you just can't decide.
What you see more often than not, which I think is a reflection of where we've gone as a shooting sport, is you see people basically putting 11 targets in the back and dividing it with one wall and calling this view 1, view 2, so it's legal. And you're like, not really. So the stage design has gotten lazier in that regard. You would have changes if you went to like a 10 or a 15 round for sure, but I mean, most arrays are going to be 8 rounds, and then you move to something else, and it's just the reloading ceases to be the issue that it once did in the production world.
Well, that's
I don't really like that, but it's just an observation I've noticed.
Well, that's why I was curious if it actually made it more technical, because at 10 rounds, you can actually shoot to 10, so you have to hit every shot. If you're at 15, I mean, the worst happens, you reload every position.
Yeah, the worst, either you reload every position or so the kind of way that like you break down stages in carry optics now is like you're either front loading or you're back loading what targets are being shot with the magazine. So it's like I'm shooting to 18 on this one, I'm gonna reload, I'm gonna shoot to 12 over there. And
I don't think the dot, Tommy, makes it even with 10 rounds. I don't think it makes it more technical, because the dot takes the technicality away from it.
The dot takes a little bit of the technicality out of it, but what I can do is I can walk shit in really fast. Like, once again, like the thing I like to use is like P51s and Messerschmitts. I'm gonna pull lead with my nose, and I'm gonna fire 650 caliber machine guns and walk that to like they're landing behind them. Pull up harder, and then just walk it. And so like, if I'm sitting there and I'm blasting, and it's like steal, and then like miss, steal, miss. Like, there's not really an incentive for me to go like bear down on it, because guess what? I still have a reserve tank of like, hey, on this one with my Rune Tactical, I only have 7 makeups. You understand? I only have 7.
Hey, that's hard.
That's a magazine. That's a revolver cylinder. Like, I just have 7.
Still, Tommy, that's not the same, because you're still shooting behind the power curve when you go miss. I mean, yeah, you're like, okay, well, that's an issue.
Of course.
But
of course. But now Tom, where you're saying you can walk them in, you're in the same boat as I am. You don't split fast enough to walk them in.
Correct. I do not split fast enough to walk them in.
Neither do I. I'm not saying I'm the same way. Like, I have to go clean on.
I do.
I can't make up.
Yes.
Somebody like Jared, you can miss the damn steal and be okay with it. I can't.
You would see by seeing him shoot that he prefers to miss the first couple on the steal.
Yeah.
He prefers
warm up shots.
But all of us, no matter what, whatever we are talking about, whatever our preferences or however we split, who here would rather do the standing reload? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Like it's just
that
like
oppositional defiance kicked in real quick there.
I'll do it. I'll. So like
Ken raised his hand like, even with the standing reload, I'll still beat you.
I have like 13 years of practicing standing reloads. I gotta do them at some point.
Yeah, like there's like a couple big kicks in the nuts, and the biggest kick is when you hear the word stop. The other kick in the nuts is when like you're like, oh, like the slide's back. I can't shoot this from any other position.
Yeah, well, jokes on me and my double single is the slide doesn't go back, and so I go click, click, shit, reload.
No.
Then you start doing the math. Is the miss worth the reload?
Do I run?
I will say that the low cap divisions, for me, I get what you're saying when it's like the technical stuff, but honestly, I just think they're fun because you get to reload more.
Reloading's cool.
You get to do more gun handling, and gun handling is fun. And if you're good at reloading, it, like you were talking about earlier, it feels great. if you run dry and you go and you're like, fuck yeah, that was awesome. Did you see that reload? I was like a 1 second reload. That was great.
No
It's
way,
fun.
Jared.
No one
Jared,
feels like they're
I spent $20 to go to this match, and by gosh, I want to spend as little amount of time shooting as possible.
well.
Well, that's why I think 10-round divisions are cool, because it does require the patience
Yeah, more
on
skills
on the gun.
Well, no one feels like
I just don't think the patience actually applies when you put a dot on it. I think that
I bet if you have 10-round, I disagree. I think if you have 10-round carry optics, you still have to have patience. You're not gonna sit there and wing them at still. I don't dot or not.
I would actually argue to have more.
If you have 10
patience,
rounds, if you go 15 rounds,
because
it's the same
with
thing,
iron sights, when you're aiming, a lot of the times, if it's loosey goosey, you can just still send it. But with carry optics, I feel like if you with a dot on there, more people will try to let it settle, and you would have to have more visual patience than you do with the iron sights. If that makes any sense.
it seems like it's like with the dot, you would be, because you can see more and you take more information, that you become a little bit more hesitant about what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. You kind of not gamble more, but sometimes
Boy,
more.
I don't think so.
Sometimes more information can make you a little bit more hesitant about what's going on with the shot. Because there's plenty of times where I thought the dot wasn't there and it was there, and plenty of times where I thought the dot was there and the shot doesn't go where I want it to go.
I can tell you a lot of times when I did not have a dot at all, and I'm just like, Jesus, take the wheel, and I'm shooting this thing, and as I'm shooting it, I'm like, oh, there's the dot again, and I'm like, okay,
well,
let's just keep
24
going.
rounds.
I'm just saying. I mean, even the dot. I don't remember who it was, but if you're seeing a dot, you're shooting too slow.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
that gun should be moving.
Dot.
if you're running into a position and you know you have 4 shots left and you press out to go hit a mini popper and you're about to wait, no, where's the dot? Shit. You're going to find that before you just start shooting. Versus in carry optics, if you have 16 rounds left and you enter that position, you don't find the dot, you're just going to go bam, 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 there it is, bam, 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 and go.
Yeah, well, the other part is too. It's like there's nothing like all of us feel the best when you shoot a classifier that has a mandatory reload, and you just land that reload like a boss, and you're splitting that trigger, and you turn around, and you're like, I hope my friends are all looking at me because I'm better than everyone here, and then you start walking off. You know, that's
And then they're like, Tom, we didn't say unload and show clear.
yeah. I paid my $2. Send it up. Send it up. Yeah, it's look. The ever racing for capacity and technology is fantastic, but there's some aspect of the game, and sometimes games can be more fun with they can be more fun and more satisfying the harder and more limiting your moves are in the games.
They are, but it's to a point. Because if you took that to its logical conclusion, then Revolver objectively should be the funnest division out there, but it's not. And ultimately, what it really comes down to is, where are your friends?
Yes.
I mean, where's Steve? Where's
Yeah,
Tommy? Where's Kenny? And I want to hang out with them.
Not me.
How about this? How about for the I-Core match next Sunday? We all shoot Berettas.
Beretta Sunday.
Oh my God, I'll have to shoot irons. I don't know how to do that. I'll try. I can try.
I tried shooting irons once, and fortunately, I had 2 reshoots on the same stage, so I figured it out.
So it's funny. Just treat it like a dot. You see that big red thing? Just put it in the target and slap the trigger.
I like the way you think there.
There's just impacts high on the back berm. It's like, all right, you're 20 feet high, 10 feet high.
Walk them in, baby.
Melee it.
Steve's gonna own us because he hasn't been seduced yet by the dot. With his Glock performance triggers, if you shoot one into the dirt on the draw, Steve, we're never gonna let it down with your Glock performance. I thought I had.
There's a lot of crotch shots on those G1 targets.
That's when Steve's going to start advocating for more rounds in the gun, because he's going to have the first one in the dirt, the second one a little bit less in the dirt, and finally he'll get onto target.
Yep.
It gets there eventually.
Right on. Well, thanks for listening, downloading, and subscribing. Man, it's still an hour and 5-minute show, but it feels like a short one. Anyways, thanks for downloading, listening, subscribing. Thanks for telling a friend. Thanks for not telling a friend, especially people that you are worried about. They worry about you anyway. So there's no reason to make them super concerned. For Steve Koski, Robert Wyatt, Kenny Terry, Jared Stepp, I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the sea of life on a little tugboat we like to call the PARAcast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Good night, everybody.
Toot toot.
Dope, dope. The end.
Are any of you guys shooting the I-Core match Sunday?
Probably not now.
I'm thinking about it.